Vibes fans. Welcome to episode 10 of season 9 of the Good Vibes Show by me, Jerry Holly, part of the Special Chronicles Network. Hope you've been enjoying season 9 thus far, which is themed around neurodiversity. We're pretty much into the home stretch of season 9, folks, but I hope you've been catching up on season 9. Obviously, all the episodes, also seasons 1 for 8, the recap specials as well, and my special series, the Road to 2022 Special Olympics USA Games. So, hope you all been enjoying those, and actually hope you've been enjoying this season thus far, because it's been the first season fully themed around something, and I chose neurodiversity because I'm a neurodiverse individual, just to give those who are tuning in for the first time that reasoning. So, hey, let's go on to today's appreciation and support vibes, which goes to neurodiverse actors and actresses, or aka neurodiverse Hollywood. Now, some people are going to say, well, wait a minute, there's no one who's neurodiverse in Hollywood. There are quite a few people. You'd be surprised. There are quite a few people who are neurodiverse in Hollywood. They're just don't really come out and talk about it, or they're actually a parent of a neurodiverse individual, or they have a sibling who's neurodiverse. So basically, neurodiverse Hollywood is a big thing. I think if anyone's ever watched The Ringer, the Peanut Butter Falcon, and a recent movie that I forgot the name of, I think it's Champions, I believe. You can double check me on that. I know that just recently came out back in March, I believe that one came out. But basically, just pointing out to those, they all have actors in there who are neurodiverse, actors and actresses who are neurodiverse. And that's a key thing to point out, that one, Peanut Butter Falcon, just for a good example, got a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a big deal right there, because it has a man with Down syndrome as one of the main actors, and I love the Peanut Butter Falcon folks. That's honestly it. But anyway, these neurodiverse actors and actresses, aka neurodiverse Hollywood, they deserve a lot of appreciation and support vibes, because they are breaking a mold that most people have a hard time breaking, even in regular life, even in the workforce, or even in life. They've broken a mold, and they support things like that too. And it's a big deal to actually think about that we actually have people who are very famous who are neurodiverse. Sometimes they don't talk about it because they choose not to, and that's their preference, and they can't blame that. So basically, it is so neat to see people who are neurodiverse in Hollywood, obviously, and it's a big deal. And I think it's just shows does show, rephrase that for a second, how people perceive things. Because most of the time when we have someone who's portraying someone who's neurodiverse in a movie, it's usually a person who's not. But in Hollywood sort of has shifted my mindset to actually have people like that. So if you also remember Glee, the cheerleader had Down syndrome. I forgot her name already, but what? She literally was fully embraced in that show. She was an actual person breaking a mold. And that's just proving the statement that neurodiverse individuals, both who could be actresses and actors, break molds, and they show they can do it. So I'm just saying, congratulations to all those, but also they deserve a lot of appreciation and support vibes as well. Before we move into today's positive uplifting vibes, here's our sponsors ad from our great sponsor, the Special Chronicles Network. The Good Vibes Show is proudly featured on the Special Chronicles Network. Visit specialchronicles.com for links to follow on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Be sure to also subscribe to the newsletter and find the podcast page for this podcast, The Good Vibes Show by me, Jerry Holly. If you love the Good Vibes Show, then you love the other podcast on the Special Chronicles Network. Visit specialchronicles.com for links to subscribe to our podcast, newsletter, and to follow us on social media. And to support the podcast on Special Chronicles so we can continue our mission of giving respect and voice to people with special talents and abilities, visit specialchronicles.com/give to make a gift today. So, for today's positive update in life is advocate for neurodiversity, folks. And I think if you've been keeping in touch with the positive updates, they've all been doing around with neurodiversity, but this is the first one that actually sounds like a more bigger thing, because I think I mentioned support neurodiversity. Now this is more advocating for it, because one, neurodiversity needs to be advocated for, because one, is totally misunderstood at times. It's misconstrued, honestly, because some people think it's this or this, and then obviously there's two camps of argument against two sides of the argument for it as well, which is kind of another subject I could talk about, but that's a nerd story for a nerd day. And I think it's just looking at the thing is we have to advocate for neurodiversity, folks, because it's much needed. Because if you really look at it, just look into the diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility arguments, and which the accessibility was just recently added on by the U.S. federal government. DI and A, but currently everyone still uses as D and I. The neurodiversity is down smack towards the bottom of that, where it should be more like towards the top. And I think advocating for it is a big deal. And obviously, I'm advocating it with a friend of mine's at where I work, and we have a neurodiversity universal affinity group. We have an urban affinity group that talks about siblings with ADD. We also have neurodivergent parenting going on too. So basically, neurodiversity is a very important thing within my work organization. But I think it's important for everyone to embrace and such. And I think embracing it is one thing, but advocating it is a much bigger thing. And if you advocate for it, you can embrace it as well. So I know I briefly went to sing a previous positive uplifting vibe there for a second, but the reality is when you have to do it, the advocate for more. I think advocating for neurodiversity is a big thing these days because the term itself, mind you, is not even 30 years old yet. So we have to constantly advocate for it, folks. And I think we should advocate for it more. And I think we should respect it as well, too. I think advocating for neurodiversity can go a long way and actually build respect for people as well. And I highly recommend people advocating for it wherever you work because I highly recommend it because it will help diversify your workplace. It'll make things more better for you. And it may also open up more opportunities for folks too. So I highly recommend to everyone advocate for neurodiversity. So let's wrap up today's episode again with our great sponsors from the Special Chronicles Network. The Good Vibes Show is proud to be featured on the Special Chronicles Network. Visit specialchronicles.com for links to follow on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Be sure to also subscribe to the newsletter and find the podcast page for this podcast, The Good Vibes Show by me, Jerry Holley. If you love The Good Vibes Show, then you love the art podcast on the Special Chronicles Network. Visit specialchronicles.com for links to subscribe to our podcast, newsletter, and to follow us on social media, and to support the podcast on Special Chronicles so we continue our mission of giving respect and voice with special talents and abilities. Visit specialchronicles.com/give to make it good today. So, hope you all been enjoying season 9, folks. I hope this episode gets you really thinking about things. Obviously, I hope it does. So, reminder to you, Good Vibes fans, remember to follow the Good Vibes Show on Instagram at Good Vibes by JH and Facebook, facebook.com/Good Vibes by JH. Also, subscribe for the Good Vibes Show by Jerry Holley on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Last time I checked, I was close to 650 listens. That's a big deal. I have like a small number of followers. That's okay too. I think it is a big statement in itself that one, the Good Vibes Show is starting to trend good. I think as much as I like to be a neurodiverse influencer, folks, I'm not just okay spreading good vibes to everyone, obviously. I think it's a good thing to know that we all need to spread good vibes, folks. So, until next week for episode 11, have a great week, everyone. So, till next time, peace out, boop, blah, and have a great week, everyone. I'll see you next week for episode 11. Bye, everyone.